Blanche is expected to endure a bipartisan grilling on a variety of issues, chief among them his department's investigations into President Trump's political adversaries and the DOJ's handling of the Epstein files.
Here to talk through this is NBC News political reporter Megan Brand and our legal analyst Danny Savalos. Good morning to both of you. Megan, I will start with you. Just tell us a bit more about some of the areas lawmakers are really going to be pressing Blanche, and ultimately, do we think he's in any danger of not being confirmed?
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, one of the major issues that we are expecting to come up today is that $1.776 billion so-called anti-weaponization fund. Now, that had originated after President Trump had sued the IRS over the leak of his tax returns, and then ultimately there was a settlement which led to that fund. Now, after bipartisan pushback, Blanche had said last month that he was no longer, the department was no longer going to ultimately move forward with the fund, but that's expected to be a major topic today. Also, of course, the Epstein files and the Department of Justice's handling of victim information and information that was released in the Epstein files earlier this year. Now, in terms of whether he could potentially face danger of not getting enough support, he really does not have any room for error in this hearing. He only needs one Republican senator to oppose his nomination in order for him to not be reported favorably out of the committee. So two senators that are going to be key to watch today. One is Senator John Cornyn of Texas, who had said that he's uncommitted on whether or not to support Blanche. And the other senator to keep an eye on is Senator Tom Tillis. Now, both of those senators have expressed concerns over the so-called anti-weaponization fund. So we're expecting to keep an eye and see whether that comes up as something that could potentially ultimately lead them to not favorably report Blanche out of committee, guys.
And notably, both are lame ducks for various reasons as well. So, Danny, let's bring you in here. Clearly, President Trump's close relationship with Blanche is going to face fierce scrutiny, having also been his personal attorney. Help us understand from a legal perspective if and how that could harm his push to become the full-time AG.
A close relationship by itself won't prevent someone from being appointed attorney general. After all, President Kennedy appointed his brother to be the attorney general. But in a way, as close as the bonds of brotherhood are, in a way, a former criminal defense attorney has an even stronger legal bond, because criminal defense attorneys like me, for our former clients, we don't have to remain friends with them. We don't have to keep in touch with them, but we forever owe them a duty to not enter into a conflict of interest with that former client. So there is and always has been an issue with Todd Blanche becoming the attorney general. Maybe you could make an argument that, oh, if he was the U.S. attorney for the District of the Virgin Islands, you wouldn't see a conflict. But here, he is going to be the attorney general, and that does create at least the specter of a conflict. But the conflict at this point really isn't legal. It's more political.
And Megan, Blanche also, he's not just expected to feel the heat from lawmakers. He's also facing backlash from survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, and we understand some of them will be on the Hill today to protest his confirmation. What are we hearing from them?
Yeah, that's right. Not only on the Hill, but actually in the room for this hearing today. Senator Dick Durbin had confirmed that they're going to be reserving some of the seats in the room for Blanche's confirmation hearing for survivors of Jeffrey Epstein to actually be there, as senators are pressing them on this issue. Now, earlier this week as well, several survivors of Epstein had released a PSA as well, urging senators to not support Blanche's confirmation. In that PSA, they described things like the release of personal information in the Epstein files, as well as things like nude photos, their names, information that can be used to identify them as being survivors of Epstein, and saying in that PSA that they wanted senators to vote against Blanche, arguing that Blanche failed them and victims everywhere, and they also argued that they and the country deserved better.